Hi, everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Lee, and I'm here with Shira, Juji, and Kim. We are four friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. Today, we're covering an interesting topic. It's about living either in scarcity or abundance. Where do you fit in on that scale? Ladies, let's get started.
I'll start. um, I'll start because I see this very clearly in my life with my mom. My mom grew up very poor, and her parents escaped the Holocaust and came over to America with nothing. And I think my mom had the same like winter jacket she had for like 16 entire years, which
Wow.
I don't know how it even fit her. But from growing up poor, she's very in this like lack mentality where there's just not enough, money or resources. I mean, I see it with everything, actually. It's not just money. I see it with everything. It's just there's this fear there that she's lived with her whole life, that there's just not enough. And if you have it, you have to hold on to that shit tight because it will disappear potentially any minute. Like it's this really strong fear that has a hold on her. But listen, we all have our things from childhood, our triggers, our issues. I get it. um, I believe that you get what you expect. So if you're walking around in life and you have this fear, this lack mentality, I believe you're just going to attract more of that, and you're going to find that you're like subconsciously sabotaging things in your life. So, you're looking at it one way of there's not enoughness, but then the universe is like reflecting back to you all these situations like, yeah, you're right. You're right. There's not enough. And I see it every day with my mom, and I talk to her about it because I don't have this mentality. And I mean, I work at not having it because I don't want to attract a lack of abundance or anything like that. Um, but so I talk to her about it all the time. And I think because she grew up in that mentality, she doesn't see it. I'll point it out and she just doesn't even see it. I think she's just like too in it. And she's 77. She's been practicing that it's just part of her belief system at this point.
Yeah.
But I think that if anyone is aware that they might be leaning towards this direction, I think at any age, at any point in your life, you can turn it around. There are so many inspiring things to read about this. There are inspiring videos to watch. If you just Google those words, it could give you tons of tools. I mean, look, I'm not perfect at all. I definitely have my moments of fear and where I am scared, maybe about money or about materials in life and things like that. But deep down, I choose to trust that I'm going to always get what I need. I always have too. I'll be scared about something and then I'll look back and be like, okay, was I ever homeless? Like, was I ever homeless? Did I ever not have what I needed? Did I always have food in my mouth? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have to sort of look at the past and say, I've always been taken care of, enough. So anyway, yeah, it's definitely very interesting living with my mom, and I do try to, encourage her and influence her. I do.
I mean, I think that it's interesting because all of us grew up with some sort of like money story. Like nobody's immune to taking on the mentality and the principles that your parents sort of instilled in you. And yeah, I mean, my parents grew up in communist Hungary. There wasn't a lot of abundance around. And my grandmother's mentality was very like bare bones, like you don't need a lot. And so my mom was always like, you don't need a lot. But I was surrounded by a lot of wealth growing up. And so I was always like, why does everybody seem to have more? It's not that I felt like we didn't have enough. Like there was always enough food. There was always good shelter. There was like plenty of clothes. I wasn't wearing the same jacket for 16 years, but there was always this perception that like other people had more. And it it made me envy. You
Mm.
know, it made me envy. Like, why does everybody else get a whole new wardrobe when they're starting school? Why does everybody else get vacations to the Bahamas on spring break? Why does everybody else have this? And it was actually at a fairly early age where I was presented with like very extreme wealth. Like, there were people who were very comfortable that I went to school with. I went to a private school, and then I befriended somebody who had a very wealthy family, like beyond what we consider comfortable. Like, her dad collected Rolls Royces. Let's just leave it at that. And her family invited me on their vacation, like a very expensive, flown first class on a private yacht, private chef vacation. And to be honest with you, I did not have fun because her family was not having a good time.
Mm.
They were like either fighting with each other or like not talking to each other. And it was the first time where I was like, money is not the answer, you know, and I have to like return to that lesson over and over and over again to remind myself that when I feel any lack in my life where I am worried on some level, I just remind myself that this is just not the answer to all of our problems. I think that the world does not really reflect that idea at us at all. Like, money seems to be the solution according to capitalism to all our problems. But I've certainly seen it do the opposite, you know? So whenever I do feel that lack, it's more about dropping back into gratitude. Like, I'm grateful that I have my health. I'm grateful that I have a home. I'm grateful that my family are so close and love each other so much, and that we are not lacking in any love in my family. So that attitude of gratitude, we did a episode about that. I think it all comes back to that. Like, it's not about looking for what you don't have, which is what lack is.
Mm. Yeah, this is really interesting because it really is. I remember reading something that all emotions emanate from two, fear and love. And it's like, we're shown so many reasons to have scarcity mentality, from the commercials we watch to, social media and all of that. It's up to us to recalibrate and reframe what scarcity is. And I remember seeing a movie a few years ago. It's called I Am. I forgot who directed it. It's a very famous director who had this horrible, like, year-long concussion and basically wanted to kill themselves, and ended up going on this like worldwide interviewing of people like Tibetan monks and just gurus of all kinds. And one of the takeaways for me from that movie was, if you're lost in a forest and you don't have a coat and you're hungry and you're tired, and somebody brings you into a dwelling and gives you soup and a blanket, you're like, oh my God, like, what a huge transformation, because you have your basic needs met. But if you take somebody who has their basic needs met and you give them, so you basically you're a million times happier than you were in the forest. But if somebody gives you a million times more than what you have already with your basic needs met, you're not a million times happier. It doesn't work that way. So to your point, Juji, of like having your basic needs met, like, hallelujah, like, build on that. Let that be enough. And also to your point about having love in the family and that money can't buy happiness, like, there are all these quotes, we know them. They're just sayings that have evolved over time. But you have to really stop and take stock about that, about having that, like, oh, wow, I really have that. Are you going to be close and amazing with every single person in your family-wide? Maybe not. But like, if you have one really close relationship within your family, hallelujah. Just say hallelujah more.
Mm.
Hallelujah to that. And I feel these are such great points, because aside from the whole money aspect, I think sometimes we need to stop and reflect, or ask ourselves, in what ways do you feel abundant in your life? Or do you? And if you do because of your health, and if you do because of, your friends or your family, then that is something to celebrate. There's so much to be said for just joy in life. I think is you can't, there is no money in the world that I think anyone can ask for in exchange for joy. If you have joy, I think that's the ultimate for me thing that I can think of that I want in this lifetime. I remember seeing a show once about the happiest people in the world and the healthiest also. And they went to I don't know if they call them blue zones or green zones. And
Oh yeah, I saw that.
right.
Yeah.
So one of the spots was like somewhere in Japan, and another is somewhere in, I don't know where, but they showed a family or several families, this community in a really, really very, very poor city. And they interviewed some of the families there. Now their shoes were torn. They barely had any clothes, but you see the kids playing in the yard, and the parents and the uncles and the aunts and the grandmas, they were all sitting there happy. They were exuding this, you could see the light, emanating. And they said to them, well, you worked like 18 hours today and you can barely feed your kids and your family. Why are you so happy? They're like, we just are. We have each other. We come home to this, and it's like, it's mind blowing how grateful they are for things that we would consider sucky,
Yeah.
and just to get back to the sucky part of it, I remember, so I was married to a man who lived in scarcity. He had a very scarce mentality, especially when it came to money. It was always an issue for him. And he actually hated the fact that I was always okay with where we were, or with where, the financials were. And it never bothered me. I never felt a fear about money. And I feel like I do have this belief, like you were talking about, Kim, before, like when you feel like you're okay and you don't lack, that's how I think I've always felt financially about money. And I've seen my parents have gone way up and way down. So I've kind of experienced that in my own life, but I never had a fear of never having a lot, never, ever. And I've never been in that situation. So I feel like it's a belief. As far as my ex, who used to do this constantly and annoy the crap out of me with it, I just started to look at it as, I felt bad for him. I would think about his inner child and all the stuff he went through. And there was a lot more compassion there, because, and it just, I tried not to let it bother me. And I know we did one of the shows about how, we look at things as lessons, or not to take things personally. And although it was directed at me a lot, like, well, we don't have any, and we don't have any, and we can't, and we did, we were okay. It's the way you look at it and the perspective. And that's how I feel about a lot of this is the perspective. Where are you in life, and where are you abundant? Are you abundant? And if not, be grateful for what you do have. That's huge.
Exactly.
I have a friend who has a lack of love in her life. She really really wants to meet her soulmate, and she wants companionship and love and romance and all that stuff. And she's been divorced for over 20 years. So it's been a long time since she's, had that with someone special, nice long-term romance and everything. And so it's very difficult for her to focus on, well, this is actually what gets her through it. What gets her through all the feelings of lack in that department is the inventory of, okay, what love do I have in my life? I have amazing friends. I have an amazing dog. I have a family that loves me, and she really focuses on that. Like, I'm talking hardcore, like it's the only thing that gets her through the sadness of not having this like special romantic partner. And I love that she practices that and really holds true to that, because she knows it's what helps heal her from that. She knows it's what keeps her from spiraling down into this rabbit hole, because our minds totally tend to skew negative. So it's hard not to focus on what we don't have. It takes work to focus on the other way. And people don't want to, oh, this is a total general statement, I know, but I think a lot of people don't want to do work. Like, I don't want to. Who does? It takes focus and concentration, and it's not easy. And half the time we're just on autopilot, and it's just easier to be that way in life. But it really, if we can really do the work of like, okay, let me take inventory today. What am I grateful for? What do I have in my life? Whether it's money or love or missing, maybe some people don't have many friendships in their lives. And, it could be anything we're talking about, not just money.
Exactly.
Well, but I also feel like it is up to us to not react to the lack mentality by making certain sacrifices in life. Like, it's very easy to say, like, because there's not enough, like, I have to do X, Y, and Z that I don't want to do. Like, I see this all the time with people and jobs. And we just did an episode about, like, I don't need this fucking job.
Right.
But it is that lack mentality that keeps people feeling trapped. And, we were just talking about how, I bounced around a lot after I left my first husband, because part of me did not want to just give in and go on autopilot, like you said, Kim, and just like get that job that is gonna like pay the bills and like do what it is that it's going to do. Like, there was a passion that I was following. There was like a road that I needed to explore. And I'm not even nearly at the end of that road, but I knew that it was leading to something bigger. And I had to just trust. That's a big word in this time. Trust that my instincts were correct in that. And I wasn't going to give up on my dream just because it was scary, just because it was the path least traveled, like, I don't have anybody, there's no entrepreneurs in my family, everybody was like, you can get a job already. What are you doing? And I was like, but there's this very important thing that I want to do. And if I had let myself live in that scarcity mindset, which, don't get me wrong, I was freaked out. There was no guarantees anywhere, but there's no guarantees in life. And so if you come from a place of lack, it's what's keeping you potentially trapped. Like, if you have a lack of love mentality, you can allow yourself to stay in relationships that aren't healthy for you because it's better than nothing. That's the saying. It's better than nothing. And it's like, it's a prison we create ourselves. And we think it's an external prison. We think that prison is outside of us, but it's actually our minds that are keeping us trapped in those places and not being able to move forward because we're almost paralyzed. It's like we just don't see a way out. And I lived there for so long that I know what that feels like, but I also know how awesome it is when you bust yourself out. When you're like, I have the key and it's in here and I'm just unlocking it. And
it's so true, Juji. It's so true. And like, as we're talking, I realize how many areas of our lives we can have scarcity in. So there's money scarcity, there's love scarcity, there's health scarcity, there's time scarcity. It's like you have to check every one of these boxes and go, oh yeah, man, maybe there's some patterns here where we weave scarcity into all these areas of our life when it just does not have to be that way. I think time scarcity is a really interesting one because we're living in such a harried, fast-paced, no breathing. People eat their food and they don't even like, oh, did I just eat that? Or like you're driving somewhere and it's like, was I in a car for 2 hours? Like, we're so distracted, like, of course you're going to be living in scarcity because you're not being present. You're just not. When you're in scarcity, you're in fear. When you're in fear, you're not being present. And so it's all these dominoes that you just got to go back to the root. Like, where did this belief come from? Question, question, question. And it could be really dug in there, right? Like, the older we get and the more we believe something, the bigger crowbar you need to go, wait a minute, is that true? How do I know that's true? Why do I believe this? It's not working. How's it working for you? That's the only question you have to ask yourself. How is it working for you? It's not change your thoughts. That's it.
Right. I'm going to mention something we mention on every single episode. Once again, it's the awareness. If you can even get to that question, if you remember to think or ask yourself, what is causing this? That right there is the beginning of everything unfolding for you.
Yeah.
So yummy.
Lee, I was about to say, let me guess, awareness.
Always, wait, always awareness. When in doubt, just say awareness.
It's our favorite word.
Love it.
Shira, I love that you brought up the lack of the lack of time mentality, because I mean, I think I'm 100% guilty of that. And I notice on the days that I don't work on my thoughts about time are the days that I feel there's not enough. And then the day goes by like that. And I'm like, I didn't get anything done, blah, blah, blah. But the days that I'm like, I'm going to make a conscious effort to see time as an illusion today and really am the most present, it'll be like 4 o'clock. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm done with all my, what should I do next?
Nothing. Do nothing.
Exactly. There's nothing to do.
Well, we invented clocks, so come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at life as just one really long second.
Well, you know what, guys? Speaking of timing, I think we need to wrap this up because we could go on all day. Seriously, there is an abundance of time, but not always for some of the episodes.
And love.
So we're going to wrap it up right here. If you've enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. We'll see you soon, and thank you for watching.
Bye.